There are so many videos out there about how to take characters and put them inside Unreal Engine, make an environment inside Unreal Engine, even put cars inside Unreal Engine. But it feels like nobody really knows how to animate a car and put that inside Unreal Engine. And it's actually rather simple. So we'll be using launch control inside Blender to animate a car, and then we will export that animation to Unreal Engine. We will be going over all the different steps and all the best practices and stuff you would need to know. On the other hand, if you just want a concise step-by-step guide, I've also made this other video that you can use later on as a little handbook. But hey, without further ado, let's go get ourselves a cup of coffee and then get started. So hey, the first thing you can do is to go ahead and find some sort of model that you would like to animate. It doesn't matter which one you grab. We should be able to rig any car with launch control. For this animation, we'll just use a preset animation inside launch control. You could tweak it or you can make your own however you want. Just make sure that it looks cool. Okay, so the first step will be to prepare our model inside Blender. So I have this model prepared with some materials. So you can see if I open up my view layer here and jump into the materials, you can see I have these named: car paint red, car paint black, tire and tire sides, and so on and so forth. This is going to help us a lot inside Unreal Engine when we're going to find out which materials go where. So if you want to check just all your materials in the file, you can go to Blender file, and then you can extend this one, materials. And you can see how I have 19 here. So if you would have 100 or something like that, that would first of all give you quite bad performance. And it would also just be a mess having to set all that up. So I prefer keeping it as simple as possible when importing to Unreal Engine. Another thing we would have to do is to go ahead and make sure that we have all the scales 1, 1, 1. So that means that if anything here has a scale, something like this, that would be quite bad. Especially, oftentimes you see that the body has some sort of weird scale. Let me just go through here and check these different objects. It doesn't look like anything has a wrong scale. This one here has a non-applied rotation, which might also cause problems. Especially this one here. If I clear out the rotation, you can see how suddenly this guy is all the way down here. So the best thing to do is to select all your objects, hit Control A, and then apply rotation. And let's hit Control A again and apply scale. Now we should have all the scales applied and all the rotations applied. And actually, let's just apply it on this one too, so we're sure we don't have any issues. It will look a little bit bad inside Blender, but let me just scale this one down. So we still have this one as a handle, and you can see how this is ready to be rigged with launch control. So now what you would need to do is just make sure that you don't have any flip normals. So there are a few different ways to check that. One thing you can do is to go in here, and that's the best way, I would say, into viewport overlays and then face orientation. And you can see here that everything is blue. That means that all our normals are correct. If anything is red, let's say this one here would, actually let me turn this off. This one here is red. You can see that's really bad. This one has a flip normal. So you would go into, you'd select it, go into edit mode, and then hit Alt N and flip to flip the normals. You can see here, we do actually see into the car here in some areas. This is something that would be really good to go ahead and close all these holes. Let me just turn on my wireframe so you can see better here. To go in here and then select all these loops and maybe just make a little duplicate and then separate this guy. With P, you can see we have these holes here, and let's just fill them. And then we can give this one just a black shader. So I have one here that's called black. And you can even make a shader that is pitch black, maybe call it black box or empty or something like that. Just make it an animation with 0. Then it will be unlit. You can go ahead and do that all the way around the car as much as you would want to. If you see any issues inside Unreal, you probably can guess that it's because of your mesh having holes, and that makes it look kind of funky. And with all that, we are ready to go the next step, which is to combine shaders. So the thing you could do is to select the body of the car, or let's say maybe this black piece here in the front, and see this one's called carbon. Let me get another one, carbon. Okay, for instance, these two are two different objects, but they use the same shaders. So we might as well, or the same materials, so we might as well combine them. So what you can do is select one of them, hit Shift L, then select linked. And now you can combine these two because it doesn't really matter. It's the same material and they all move together anyway. The only thing you have to be careful about is not combining any part of the wheel together with the body of the car. So for instance, these two parts here, the headlight and the wheel, should of course be separated. If you combine them, then the wheel wouldn't spin correct anymore. So keep that in mind, but anything else you can basically combine. So what I like to do is to go in here and just hide the wheels. There we go. And then you can go in here and see, okay, glass. Let's combine all these. The red paint, Let's combine all these. There were nothing to join. All the black ones, let's combine all this. And here again, you will just have to make sure that you don't have any modifiers, because that will mess up your modifiers if you start to combine stuff. So we can go in here and then convert to mesh quickly. That will just make sure that all our modifiers are applied, and then we can join all this stuff. And again, here we have a modifier. Let's go in here and convert mesh. And I think we already did merge this one or combine that one. And again, we have a modifier, and so on and so forth. And you can just go through and do that with all your meshes. And then we are ready to set it up for Unreal. So now we have everything prepared, and you can see we have a total of 51 objects, where one of them is an empty, so that doesn't really count. So that's a really good number for Unreal, and not too many objects and not too much of a mess inside Unreal. And the same way, we have one material per object, and when we have combined all the meshes into one object that use the same material. So the next thing we can do is to open up launch control and rig our car. So this one is already prepared, and if you have a car that's not prepared, you can quickly prepare it with the quick tag tool. Just select the body, which holds all the body parts, and click body, the front left wheel, and click front left wheel, and so on and so forth. And you can quite quickly just link this up. Rear right and rear left. That's perfect. So now we can click rig vehicle, and we have our little preview animation here running. Let me just turn off the relationship lines. There's something wrong. Oops, I accidentally combined this one, which I should not have done. So let me separate this. And if you're ever in need of reparenting stuff, actually a good way to do that is to go into the manual gearbox and into rig setup at the very bottom, and just hit rig setup mode, because now the car will jump into a rig state where it would disable all the animations. You can see no matter where I go on the timeline, the car will stay here. And if I have some crazy animation set up, some drifting, all this stuff, it doesn't matter. All that will be disabled along with the physics, as long as you just click the rig setup mode. So this is a good place for fixing any issues or any misalignments. So let me just check here again. Yes, this is definitely not linked up. So let me parent this one to the tire. And now I should be able to move the wheel, and everything moves along accordingly. So that's great. So let's put this back, and you can see our little drift is in here again. Let me cancel that out. And now let's go ahead and pick a preset that we want to use inside Unreal Engine. So I want to use this turn 2, just because I think that could fit well with this Ferrari on a racetrack. And this is essentially what we want to import into Unreal Engine. So we have a few different ways of doing this in the new version of Launch Control. So one thing we can do is to export with the default settings. That will give us one FBX file which holds the car with the armature and all the meshes, including the animation, since include animations is checked. That means we have one FBX, which is very easy to work with. But on the other hand, if we need to change the animation later, we would have to export the entire car again. So a better approach for these things is to export the car once as a skeletal mesh, and then just simply export extra animations afterwards, because then you can always adjust your animation and re-upload the animation, and it will read very fast inside Unreal Engine, compared to if you need to import the car every time. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we will not include animations. This means we will export the car without the animations. So just the meshes and the armature. I'm just gonna export it next to our file. So that means // just means relative. And let me call this one Ferrari rig to UE version 1. And let's hit FBX for Unreal. And you will see if I do this and my playhead is not at 0, it will ask me to put it back at 0. So let's just pull it back to 0 and then click FBX for Unreal. It will give you a little message pop up, but I skipped ahead a little bit because it can take a little time, since this is 3 million polygons and all that has to be converted into an FBX. But now with our car and rig exported, we can export the animation. So what you'll need to do is to set up your animation. You check that it just looks fine in here. Actually, let's just apply some quick physics to make it look a little bit better, and let me get rid of this grid, like so. Let's go in here and probably take race car and then apply physics. And let's see here, we can maybe fiddle a little bit with post physics. I guess we wouldn't have too much roll in a car like this, but that looks cool. So now let's go ahead and export this animation. So Let's here in the end write underscore anim and then 01 because it's the first animation we're exporting. And let's say include animations and only animations. So this here will again export much faster. So if I click export, it again asks me to put the current frame back to 0, the playhead back to 0. So let's do that. And when I click, you'll be able to see how fast it exports now compared to before. Before it took around 2 minutes to export everything, but this time it shouldn't take more than 15 seconds or so to prepare that and export it. And there we go. Now we have the animation exported. So now let's open up a project inside Unreal Engine. And just while Unreal Engine is starting, we can go ahead and export any ground meshes or any other stuff that we want to use inside Unreal Engine as well. So you could also include this in the FBX export, include ground detection. If you check this box, then Blender will take whatever is inside ground detection and export that. And it will also take, if you add any extra objects and you place them inside the export objects collection, it would export these to the FBX as well. But again, I kind of like to keep it a little cleaner so you have separate FBX files and not a lot of stuff in one file. So let's just go ahead here and export a completely normal FBX file with this ground detection here. So we wrote version 1 in case we need more versions in the future. And let's click selected objects. Let's just untick bake animation and export FBX. And there we go. So now we just wait for Unreal to start. So now we have Unreal open with a default level opened up. Let me just go ahead here and locate our file. You can see how we have our 3 FBXs here. So let's drop in the first one being the rig. So that was this one. I could also have called it underscore rig. That would have been a more beautiful name. And when we drag that in, we have to click first of all that it's a skeletal mesh and just leave everything else at default. Let's go down here and say under material, create new materials. We will replace these later with some automotive materials, but let's just for now create some materials so we have it in there. Let's click import all. And after a little bit of time, you should see that it starts to import your FBX mesh. A few notes here is that a skeletal mesh inside Unreal Engine is only really working when you have a mesh that has a maximum of maybe 5 million polygons or something like that. If you have more than that, it's simply not gonna work. In case you need to import something with a lot of geometry that just simply crashes Unreal, then there is a workflow where you can import a basic proxy mesh from Blender with launch control, and then afterwards hook up your static meshes, which are exported just like normal FBX static meshes. But that workflow is a little bit too much to go over in this video, but it is possible. But using skeletal meshes and then just limiting the amount of polygons is by far a better and faster approach. Good thing is that this we would only have to do once, since we are not importing the mesh and rig every time. The only thing we will be updating or importing later on is different animations. And we can update the animation, iterate, and even add new animations, as many as we want, and import that much, much faster than what you see here. But in the meantime, let's just open up the marketplace and let's check out the automotive material pack and search for automotive. And let's just add this one to our project. Okay, so now it finally finished importing, and you can see we have some error messages here, but I think that's okay. Let us go in here and just make a nice little folder. Ferrari, everything except this. Move here, and there we go. So in here we have our skeletal mesh, we have a physics asset, and we have a skeleton. Now we can go ahead and import the animation. That loads super fast because that is only 18 megabytes of data. So let's go in here, and it already figured out that we have this Ferrari skeleton that would fit this animation. So that's perfect. Animation length, exported time. Yeah, all this just looks fine at default. Let's hit import. And you'll be able to see that we very fast can import these animations, and that's it. We already have it imported, and we can drag this into the scene and we can check out our animation right away. Yeah, we should be able to see here that our car is doing the little turn as it's supposed to do. So now let's import the road. So let's go to exports again and just drop in our road mesh. And this one will be a static mesh. So just don't check skeletal mesh. And we don't have any animations, anything like that. Create new materials. That sounds okay. Let's click import. And again, this is super fast because it's not a skeletal mesh. So let's drop in this static mesh. This is zero out the transforms, and take our car animation, also zero out the transforms on this one. Now these two should match up, and we will be able to see that if we play back, or if we just pull the offset here, the initial position offset, then our car is going around the track like in Blender. So that is perfect, and we have the shadow in here and everything. So I just loaded in this little pack of automotive materials, and that's what we will use to shape the car. So we can go in here, automotive materials, and we can check out which sort of materials we have here. We have exterior and interior, and these are just really nice materials that work in most cases. So let's go maybe find a car paint first. That's a good place to start. Actually, this red car paint right here, the MI is for material instance, so that's exactly what we want. So let's just drop this one in there, everything. And then maybe for the roof, that's the black car paint. Let's use charcoal black. That looks great. And now we would need some brake rotor. Let's see here, we might have an issue because I didn't set up the UV maps properly. Let's try this one, ceramic. Yeah, that looks like it's working okay. It's working decently. Find ourselves some glass. We have with refraction. I guess we do not need refraction for this. Let's just do a tinted glass and plop that in there. And then probably for the headlights, let's see if we have a specific one for headlights. Lights? Oh, we do. Okay. Transparent cover, that's probably good. So let's do transparent cover for the lights glass. Okay, and now we need some tires as well. Some rubber, I suppose. The top, we have tire. So that would be rubber shiny, sidewall. Let's try the rough. And then maybe a shiny sidewall. See if this works. So if we should do also a rough sidewall. Yeah, here the UV map doesn't really work. So you can see how it looks a little bit funky. But that's something I could fix, of course. And see, this has the black car paint. Okay, that's a bit interesting, but I guess that works. Let's add some carbon as well, carbon fiber. And we have uncoated and coated. We should definitely use the coated here. See, where is our carbon? It's there. Okay, let's drop that in there. And now for our red inner glass. Interesting. Do we have some red glass? We have red tinted glass. That sounds about right. Red light, red lamp. And let's try here glossy steel. We should probably be able to find some metal in here. Metal, some steel. Let's into metal. And for the black, we need some black plastic. So let's go in here and find plastic. Let's try just a clean black, like so. And I think that's about it. So we have the logos here we could add, but I don't know if we will do that for now. But you can see how we have a car that already looks much, much better inside here. And this was literally just dropping in materials, not even caring so much about all the details. But it already looks pretty good with all the default settings. So I was playing around with the scene a little bit more. So just a few extra things to keep in mind when you are working with launch control animations. A problem I was facing was that the car kept disappearing, or the shading kept turning down to some sort of low quality shading. Like here, for instance, it just looks very ugly and very weird. So it turns out that this is because the origin of the skeletal mesh is all the way over here. And then Unreal tries to optimize whenever that origin is out of the view. And what you could do for this particular object is just select it, search for bounce, and then just increase the bounce scale to something very high. Please do not do this for any object, because that would give you super bad performance. But in this case, you might want to do it because the car would always need to be rendered properly. One other thing I do want to show you is that you can go in here to the cinematic, to the sequence, level sequence editor, and add a level sequence. So what you can do in this level sequence editor is basically just take your car or take any object and drop it in here. And let's say for the car that you have dropped in here, you can click track, animation, and then add your animation sequence here. And now you'll be able to see how you can offset the animation. And when you play back, you will see your car moving, and you can link up a camera. You can set up a camera, go in here, jump into the camera actor, and you can sort of see here I put in a little extra object just to hide some stuff. And you can start moving stuff around and make a little sequence with your car running around the track here if you want to. And as mentioned, you can always go back and just update your animation sequence and right click here and say re-import with new file, and then you can import whatever other FBX animation you want. Just make sure that it's the same car, so you can use the same skeletal mesh. Because if the wheelbase changes or if the mesh changes, then of course the animation wouldn't really work anymore.